Welcome to Byte-Sized. Okay, so let's talk about this week, because this was the week that AI really stopped being this futuristic concept, right? And it started becoming the new operating system for your life. And I'm not talking about some far-off research lab. This stuff is quietly embedding itself into the world all around you in ways you probably don't even notice yet. I mean, think about it. It's in the food you're putting in your kitchen. It's changing how you shop for, well, pretty much everything. And it's even the voice that's running your home. You know, looking back at this week, the theme was just undeniable. This whole AI takeover isn't some future event. It's happening right now. So let's actually dig into that. Let's see how this brand new operating system is showing up in our everyday lives. First up, Apple Intelligence. In the new iOS 26, it got this new skill that sounds super simple, but it's actually pretty clever. So you find a recipe online, right? You just highlight the ingredients and boom, it automatically creates a sorted grocery list right there in your Reminders app. Yeah, it's a small thing, for sure, a tiny convenience, but it's a perfect example of how AI is being woven into the fabric of our lives to solve these little, annoying everyday problems. And hey, speaking of shopping, let's talk about Amazon. They rolled out Rufus. And you gotta understand, this is not just a new Alexa. Rufus is a full-on generative AI that's been trained on Amazon's entire product catalog. The whole shebang. So think of Rufus as a specialist, a pro. It can literally summarize thousands of reviews for you in seconds, or answer really tricky questions like, hey, what's the best camera for a beginner photographer who's on a budget? Meanwhile, inside our homes, Google is officially swapping out the old assistant for Gemini for home. And this thing is way smarter. It gets casual, complex commands. You could ask it something like, hey, did a deer eat my petunias last night? And it can actually summarize your Nest camera footage to give you an answer. How wild is that? But, it's not all convenience and cool features. As AI gets this seamlessly integrated into everything we do, there's a darker side emerging. And with all this convenience, there's a hidden cost. A pretty stark warning, actually. Yeah, a recent university study just came out and it highlighted some really serious risks with using AI chatbots for mental health support. The researchers found that these bots, they're often unqualified, they can be dangerously agreeable, just telling you what you want to hear, and in some really high-profile cases, they've even given out incredibly harmful advice. It just goes to show how critical it is that we understand AI's limitations, especially as it gets this deep into our lives. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's pivot to the story that absolutely dominated the headlines this week. Because this story, man, it perfectly illustrates both the incredible promise and the profound peril of this new AI era. I am, of course, talking about Sora, the new video generation app from OpenAI. It just rocketed to #1 in the App Store. And what it does is pretty mind-blowing. It lets anyone create a 10-second video of basically anything you can dream up. I'm talking a golden retriever puppy playing in the snow, or a sprawling futuristic city. You type it, it makes it. And inside OpenAI, the employees are calling this a revolutionary leap. They're saying this is a ChatGPT moment, but for video. That's a huge claim. But the critics, they see something totally different. They're calling it a TikTok for deepfakes, a powerful, super accessible tool for creating convincing fakes with unprecedented ease. And that is raising some serious fears about a new, overwhelming wave of misinformation. Yeah, the big concern here is that we are standing right on the verge of a full-blown information crisis. A world where realistic AI-generated videos could make it almost impossible to tell what's real and what's not. And it's already happening. The app's feed is already filling up with what people are calling AI slop, low quality, bizarre, and sometimes pretty concerning AI content. I mean, we're seeing everything from an anime version of Jesus flipping tables to fake CCTV footage of OpenAI's own CEO, Sam Altman, stealing computer chips. It's wild. So, as you can imagine, this has forced OpenAI to scramble, to rush out new safety features to give people more control over their AI lookalikes. But here's the thing. The fundamental questions, like how do we actually prevent this powerful tech from being misused? Those are still completely unanswered. So this brings us to a huge question, right? Is this technology a tool that's going to unleash a whole new wave of creativity, or is it a threat that's just going to devalue human artists? Well, on the one hand, you've got major companies like Mattel already using Sora's API to speed up their whole creative process. OpenAI is even talking about licensing famous fictional characters, letting you create what Sam Altman is calling interactive fan fiction. Pretty cool. But on the other hand, the rise of AI is also making us take a hard look at the classic tools we use to create. I mean, take Audacity, the audio editor. It's been around forever. But after years, and I mean years, of complaints about its confusing interface, they've just announced a massive redesign for version 4. It's just a great reminder that even as AI is transforming everything, the basics, like good design and a good user experience, are going to matter more than ever. And this right here, this perfectly illustrates the central tension of this whole AI era. Is it a powerful creative partner that's going to accelerate what humans can do? Or is it a dangerously flawed replacement for actual human expertise? It's the big question. But here's something we have to remember. An app as powerful as Sora, it doesn't just run on air, right? This entire creative explosion doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It all requires a staggering, absolutely massive amount of computational power. And that incredible demand is igniting a new global arms race, a race for the chips and the hardware that are going to power our AI future. And you better believe the winner of this race will likely control the next generation of technology. And this battlefield, it is crowded. You've got OpenAI working on its own hardware with the legendary Apple designer Johnny Ive, though that project is reportedly delayed. So, in the meantime, what are they doing? They're making enormous multi-billion-dollar deals with chipmakers like AMD and NVIDIA just to lock down the raw power they need to run things like Sora and ChatGPT. And part of the challenge with that Johnny Ive device, it's not just the hardware, it's the personality of the AI. Apparently, they're struggling to create a companion that's helpful but not, creepy or intrusive. As one person close to the project put it, what they want is a friend who's a computer who isn't your weird AI girlfriend. I think we can all relate to that. And the costs, oh man, the costs are just staggering. Just keeping ChatGPT online is estimated to cost between $3 and $4 billion a year. That's a billion with a B. That's more than the entire economy of some small countries. The demand for computing power is so insane that Sam Altman is reportedly just flying all over the world trying to lock down funding and partners to build out this new generation of infrastructure. And that's because this hardware race, it's not just about who's fastest. It's about who's going to build and control the next dominant computing platform. The stakes couldn't be higher. And they're not even being subtle about it. OpenAI's head of a ChatGPT, a guy named Nick Turley, has been totally explicit about their goal. They want to turn ChatGPT into a real operating system. A foundational layer that other apps, think Spotify, think Zillow, can just plug right into. Basically, just like how apps are built on top of iOS or Android today. But just as these tech companies are racing to build these new AI platforms, they're running headfirst into a new wave of government scrutiny. It seems like regulators are determined not to let the same kind of monopolies dominate the next 20 years of tech. And we're seeing it play out already. In a landmark case, a federal judge has ruled that Google illegally monopolized ad tech. And a forced breakup of its business, that's now a very real possibility. It really just goes to show you no one's position is safe right now. Even a giant like Apple is facing this moment of intense transition, which just highlights the incredible pressure on every single major player to get the next decade of technology right. The whole board is being reset. So when you put it all together, the helpful little apps, the crazy creative explosions, the global hardware arms race, the government stepping in, it all leads us to one final crucial question. And this isn't just about new gadgets anymore. We're talking about the fundamental architecture of our digital lives. So, as AI becomes the new operating system for your life, who do you trust to write the code? Because the answer to that question is going to shape our future in ways we're really only just beginning to imagine. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.